clashing in an all-American showpiece. More than 23,000 fans descended on the San Jose Spartan Stadium to see America's two divisions battle it out in the 6th All-Star Game, with the emphasis, as always, firmly on the family day out. For all the glitz and the glamour of the occasion, the MLS is a serious business. This game a chance to show off its foreign stars, as well as the best of homegrown talent. Turning out for the Eastern Division, Bolivian superstar Marco Echeverri of New York's Metro Stars. For the West, flamboyant Mexican striker Luis Hernandez of the LA Galaxy has become an MLS star. USA internationals past and present were also taking centre stage. Mike Petka, called up to the American side in June, lined up against veteran international Marcelo Balboa, capped 128 times for his country. For the Californian soccer fans, all eyes were on the San Jose Earthquake's Landon Donovan, running out for the West All-Stars in front of his home crowd. And his growing army of fans were not to be disappointed. In the tradition of past All-Star games, there was an awful lot of entertainment. To the delight of San Jose's fans, the youngster Donovan proved unstoppable, opening the scoring on just 3 minutes. He would score a stunning hat-trick, the first in an All-Star game. The West dominated, Ariel Gredzeni of Dallas Fern making it 4-0 with less than half an hour played. The East, though, soon hit back. A goal from Honduran striker Alex Chacon was followed by a brace from Columbus Crew hitman Brian McBride. So, 4-3 the score at half-time. In the second half, substitute Mamadou Diallo pulled the East back on level terms. 4-4. Kobe Jones marked his 6th All-Star appearance by putting through Dama Kovalenko to restore the West's advantage. But Miami Fusion captain Jim Rooney then levelled again at 5-5. Still the goals continued. 3 minutes from time, Ian Bishop presented Marco Antonio Carte with the simplest of tasks. 6-5, the East ahead for the first time. But that man Landon Donovan had the final say, popping up in the 2nd minute of injury time to score his 4th goal of the game to tie the match. A 12-goal extravaganza sent everyone home happy.
The most important thing is that we came out today and played. Landon scored 4 goals, the fans loved it. What more can you do?
Y Len hizo los 4 goles y la gente les encantó. Eso es la cosa más importante.
But I think it was a good show. The reaction of the crowd showed that everybody enjoyed it. The score was 6-all. That can only make for a good day out.
La verdad que se ven bien.
The truth is, they all look good. Mike Petka, Steve Jolly, Landon Donovan. They look great. But they should remember that the experience we have will help the youngsters. There are still things we can teach them.
No doubt about the hero of the day. Landon Donovan walked off with the All-Stars Most Valuable Player award. The San Jose striker is definitely one to watch.
News now, and Boudewijn Zenden has left Barcelona. The 24-year-old winger joins England's Chelsea for $12 million. He follows his Barca teammate Emmanuel Petit to the West London club. Dutch international Zenden is the Blues' 4th major signing of the summer. Everton's Michael Ball looks set to leave England for Scotland. His $10 million transfer, though, to Rangers still depends on a successful medical. He'll become the 7th Everton player of the season in a row to leave the club. Also new at Rangers, from Scottish rivals Dundee, Argentine legend Claudio Caniggia. Arriving in England is Nigeria's Finidi George. Ipswich Town have signed the Super Eagles star from Real Mallorca in Spain in a $6 million deal. It's the well-travelled 30-year-old's first stint in the Premiership. George has enjoyed success in Holland as well as the Spanish League. And finally, Nahiro Takahara is on his way to Argentina. In an unusual move, the Japanese international will join South American champions Boca Juniors. The 22-year-old striker goes to Boca on a one-year loan from Japan's Jubilo Iwata. Georgi Hagi, Jica Popescu, Dan Petrescu in Romanian football. Quarter-finalists at USA 94, second round at both France 98 and Euro 2000. They grew up as a team together. Nobody fancied playing the Romanians. But now retired or in their 30s, it's time to look to the next generation. And the next major hope is Christian Kivu, a regular for Dutch giants Ajax and already his country's captain. At just 20 years of age, he takes the armband from the Romanian Player of the Century. It's some act to follow.
It's a great thing is to be captain after Hagi, and you feel the pressure, you feel the responsibility, and I just hope that I'm not going to disappoint someone else, or somebody, or myself.
Hagi is now Kivu's coach. In charge of the national team since late June, the man dubbed the Maradona of the Carpathians commands ultimate respect. Ajax will find it hard hanging on to their star player. Several leading European clubs are showing an interest. The man himself, though, is loyal to the people who gave him his first big break.
Ajax was one of my favorite teams since I was young, and I can say that I was a little bit surprised that they came for me, but in the same time I was very happy.
In order to keep Kivu happy, Ajax will need to start winning some trophies. No championships in 3 years amounts to almost a crisis by their exacting standards. Coach Adrianza has the difficult task of turning things around. Formerly in charge of the youth team, his principles are firmly focused.
Up youth players from your own development program in the first team. So Rijkaard, Bergkamp, Cruyff, all the world famous players, they started here in the youth development program, and it can't stop. It's a process that's going on, and why should it stop nowadays? I believe in the youth, I believe in the young players, but you need to have courage to bring them in the first team, and the second place, you need patience.
Adrianza's patience could be starting to pay off. In the recent Amsterdam tournament, Ajax impressed. This was Greek international Nikos Maklas taking advantage of Sami Hyypiä's slip to give his team the lead. But Gerard Houlier's side didn't roll over easily. Robbie Fowler levelling the scores with a wonderful effort. Second half, and that man Maklas on hand again to restore Ajax's advantage. All before Georgian Shota Albaladze rounding things off for a 3-1 Ajax victory. The Dutch side with their first trophy of the season. Next stop, a Champions League qualifier against Celtic. But a shock 3-1 defeat at home has dented their European ambitions. As for Kivu, his targets now are perhaps a little more realistic.
Champion with Ajax, I think. And just be there in World Cup with the national team.
A year of opportunity beckons for both Romania and Ajax. Responsibility will weigh heavily on Kivu's young shoulders.
Still to come, overcoming the odds. We report from Kinshasa on the game in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Ivica, football fan, the strange but true story of Argentina's First Lady and the beautiful game.
But first, a question. Romania are hoping to qualify for their 4th successive World Cup finals. But in what year did they make their first appearance? The answer after the break.
Argentina in the 1940s, a country of contrasts, divided. The wealthier classes socialized at the races, while football emerged in the industrial cities. The sport was thriving. Argentina was thriving. That was the popular image. But it betrayed the reality. The poverty-stricken suburbs of Buenos Aires fueled political instability. Change was inevitable. It would come in the guise of champions of the common man, the desamisados. Evisa portrayed herself the friend of the poor. Her emphasis was on social reform. Her welfare foundation became an immense instrument of personal power. The government made a show of channeling funds to schools, hospitals and social projects. So where does the football come in? Well, our story centers around the southern Buenos Aires railway suburb of Banfield. The town's humble football club was a team from the working classes, a club with modest facilities and little money. But incredibly, by the early 1950s, Banfield were taking on the big boys. Ezra Sued played for Banfield's title rivals Racing at the time.
In 1951, something incredible happened. For the first time in the history of Argentine football, a small club was fighting for the championship.
But this was no conventional title run-in. 1951 was also a presidential election year in Argentina.
It is generally acknowledged that Eva Perón knew very little about. She wanted to prove that the social justice pursued by Peronism was becoming a reality through sport. This could be achieved by a small club becoming national champion. Before this, only the Big Five had ever won the championship.
Racing were the big favourites, having won the previous 2 championships. But now Banfield were on the verge of breaking that dominance. A playoff was needed to decide the title. Evisa began to take a sudden interest in football. A victory for Banfield would be a symbolic victory for the common man.
The players of Banfield are very outspoken about the fact that an envoy of Eva Perón went to see them before the playoff and offered them new cars as an incentive to win the game.
And it wasn't only the Banfield players who were allegedly offered incentives.
3 days before the game with Banfield, the government's finance minister told us he had something to say to us. He said, "I'm bringing you a suggestion which comes from a very high governmental level. Just a suggestion that I want you to take into consideration. Somebody would like to see Banfield become champions." We didn't like the proposal. We thought about the respect we owe to the people in the stands. We thought about our futures. Our captain put it to a vote. We unanimously decided to refuse.
There was no doubting either side's commitment once the game started, and there was to be no fairy tale ending. Racing won the game 1-0 to complete a hat-trick of titles. Banfield won the hearts of all Argentina, but have never been close since. The Perons won the 1951 election, but the cheers of the masses soon turned to tears. Only a year later, at the age of just 33, Eva Perón, self-styled people's champion, died after a long illness. Manchester United prepare to defend their 3rd successive English Premier League title. What better time to take a look back at a classic match from their best ever season, the treble-winning campaign of 2 years ago. The game, the FA Cup semi-final replay against Arsenal at Villa Park in April 1999. A dramatic night that would become the start of something big. Sheringham. Beckham. First blood to Manchester United. David Beckham breaks the deadlock after 16 minutes. Bergkamp. He's got some space. He scored the equalising goal, and Arsenal are right back in the FA Cup. And midway through the second half, Arsenal looked to have taken the lead. Frenchman Nicolas Anelka showing a poacher's instinct. But the linesman's flag cut short the celebrations. Offside. Moments later, United were in serious trouble. Roy Keane's rush of blood, earning the midfielder a second yellow card from referee David Ellery. Surely Arsenal would now press home their numerical advantage. That's what they did, awarded a penalty in the very final minute of the game when Phil Neville tripped Ray Parlour. Dennis Bergkamp can take Arsenal to Wembley. How United need Peter Schmeichel to rescue them now. I told you they needed Schmeichel, and they did! Unbelievable! And inspirational. Deep into extra time, United won it, thanks to a moment of pure genius. Giggs. Great run here by Ryan Giggs. Oh, what a goal! Would you believe it? Ryan Giggs could have taken Manchester United to Wembley. United would go on to beat Newcastle in the FA Cup final, the second instalment in their historic treble. The likes of Veron and Van Nistelrooy have a lot to live up to this season.
The history of the Democratic Republic of Congo has been a troubled one. Formerly Zaire, this vast Central African state has been independent now for over 40 years. But the country has never enjoyed the fruits of its freedom. Today it continues to be a nation gripped by civil war. Their last president, Laurent Kabila, was assassinated in January. The country's love of football was far from people's minds.
The war has harmed nearly all sporting activity in the Congo. Money which was available to the teams has been spent on waging war. It takes a lot of money that instead could have gone to funding sport. We'll have to wait until the war finishes. The government is right. We have to put an end to the war. We have to end it. And once it's over, we can think again about the football. The war is in everything we do right now.
Laurent Kabila's son Joseph is now president, but the crisis continues. The threat of economic meltdown is ever present.
The development of our football depends entirely on the state of our country's economy. When the economy begins to sort itself out, then we'll be able to provide more funds at grassroots level and help train our young players. The future of our game lies here. If our economic situation can be resolved, then so will the state of our football. We cannot wave a magic wand. We just have to wait until our economy gets going again.
For the country's footballers, there are some grounds for optimism. The big two sides, V Club and Batemba Pembe, are aiming to turn professional. The players know they have a new generation to inspire.
We look at the Ronaldos and the Zidanes, and we want to become like them. The kids look up to us in the same way. They think we're stars playing for big clubs. The kids want to emulate us and become like us. And it's exactly the same for us when we watch players like Ronaldo and Zidane on television.
The country has produced some good players. Michel Ngongi fired England's Watford into the Premier League back in 1999. Shabani Nonda is making headlines at Monaco. But the national team is a victim of that success. Due to the current political turmoil, European-based players are understandably not too keen on returning home.
We have talented players, but most of them are in Europe. We have local talent too, but once they get noticed, the European clubs come and get them straight away. We do have some footballers in Europe who come to play for the national team, but only now and then.
The price has been failure to qualify for next year's World Cup. But for this country, football is about more than results.
When we play international game, we try to show another image of our country. We try to show peace and love. You see, that's the only message we can bring in football, peace and love, because we are not politicians.
Perhaps football can help the healing process, but peace is still a long way off. Kabila's forces continue to wage war against rebels backed by neighboring Uganda and Rwanda.
I hope the war ends soon. This war has destroyed and divided our country. We have two friends who have just come back from Kisangani, and we have tears in our eyes hearing tales of what they've been through. I ask for the international community to get involved in the war that's tearing our country apart. We want to rebuild our country that's been destroyed since independence.
Where there are playing fields, there is hope. But tragically, the Democratic Republic of Congo remains a country on the edge of a future as bloody as its past. Next week, from the Italian city which inspired Romeo and Juliet, a tale of romance. We tell the unlikely story of Serie A's new boys, Chievo of Verona.
And a Croatian in China. We meet First Division Sichuan's wandering Balkan, Miroslav Bikanic. See you next week.
This program is produced in association with Western Union Money Transfer.